We've been practicing making pizza for about 2 weeks, and it's gotten to the point where it's really, really good, and all our friends are asking how we made it. So we're gonna show you how we made it using our sourdough starters. First, we're gonna make the crust, and then we're gonna use all these beautiful toppings that we collected from our own garden. And we have other ingredients that we got locally from some farms, things like that, some locally made mozzarella. It's going to be so good. Well, I have 3 different sourdough starters, and I'll tell you a little bit about them all. I started making sourdough starter by using flour and bubbly tea made from white pine and lemon balm. Now, I made all of these starters, starting with one. I call it the Piney Princess, and it's a really, really nice starter, and it rises a lot faster, I think, than traditional sourdough starters. To make the pizza, we are going to need 1 cup of water, 1 cup of sourdough starter, and I'm going to use a little bit of Piney Princess, and then I'm going to use some of my Prince Caspian starter. It really doesn't matter, use any sourdough starter that you have. My starters, I have 3, because one is the pure starter that's just made from the pine needles. Then I have one that I add my yogurt to once a week. I add just a spoonful of Caspian Sea yogurt to my starter every week to just infuse it with even more probiotics. And then King Tut as my 3rd type of starter, and I add kefir to this one once a week. So the flavors are amazing. We have 1 cup of sourdough starter, 1 cup of water, and then we also are going to add a teaspoon of salt, and a tablespoon of olive oil. It's pretty simple. Starter, salt, olive oil, and then I add 4 cups of flour. My flour is 75% organic unbleached flour, 25% whole wheat flour. And the next thing we do is mix it. You'll get your turn. Okay, so I added 4 cups of flour, and I know that I'm probably going to need 1/2 to 1 cup of flour more. Ember, can you get that scooper right there and give me a scoop of flour in here? Just add that in. And I'm just going to work this with my hands. And I want it to be kind of a sticky dough, not super dry. So if it's feeling really dry, feel this.
It doesn't feel so dry.
Yeah, it's kind of sticky. Then we have to knead the dough for about 10 minutes. And that is why I need you. I need to add a little bit more water to it. Our water is a little bit warm. That just helps the yeast to start multiplying. There is no yeast in this recipe. It's just 1 cup of sourdough starter. I'm going to knead this for 10 minutes, and then I'm just going to let it rise for 2 or 3 hours, and then the dough will be ready to make pizza. I'm not going to do a second rise. I've been experimenting with this long enough to know that with this simple recipe and with the way I heat the cast iron on the stove before I cook the bread in the oven, it rises perfectly without a second rise. You can do a second rise if you want to, and that will give the bread a chance to ferment even more. So instead of putting flour on the counter, I like to put olive oil on the bread when I knead it. You ready?
Yes.
So we fold it, push it, fold it, turn it, push it down, fold it, push it down. There you go. You're gonna do that for about 10 minutes. A lot of people have asked me how I started my sourdough starter with the white pine. So very easy. You take a bottle like this and you pick some white pine just like this and you stuff it into the bottle. I also used lemon balm in my original recipe for my sourdough starter. And you can make your sourdough starter the traditional way. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just I really love my starter because I feel like it rises a lot faster than the starter that all my friends have. And I'm pretty busy and I'm kind of sometimes in a hurry and I don't want to wait 5 or 6 hours for my bread. So with this starter, it's kind of more like a traditional, like regular bread baking experience where it only takes like an hour and a half to double in size, and then you are ready to give it the second rise for another hour and a half, and then you can bake it. So I'm going to add warm water to this. Adding warm water. And then I'm going to add about 1/4 cup of sugar. The natural yeast in the lemon balm and the white pine is going to create bubbles, and then I'm going to use that water to make a future starter in about 10 days. So I'm not clicking this down at this point. I'm just leaving it so it can breathe. And really, you should put a coffee filter on there and then let it rest so that no bugs will get in there. And in 10 days, you're ready to make a sourdough starter. Once I added my white pine bubbly tea to the flour to make the sourdough starter, my starter was ready in 3 days to start baking with. All right, so while she's working, that's a good time to clean up the mess and get ready to make these pizzas. Okay, that feels really good. We are going to add some olive oil to keep it nice and moist during the rising. And put it in the basket, cover it, and I will put it in my oven for about 2 or 3 hours with the light on to make it just a little bit warm, and in a couple hours it will be ready to turn into pizza dough. So earlier today I made the recipe and got it ready so that we are ready to work. So this one is going to rise, these are ready. So this is enough to make 4 pizzas. And I guess we could make 4 pizzas today, but we're just gonna focus on 2. We're going to make a pesto pizza and we're going to make a tomato pizza. Okay, go ahead and just do like this.
Okay.
Can you do it? But we want it to be, well, gentle. We want it to get about the size of that cast iron pan.
That's so
Okay.
Whoa.
That's good. Good practice. Okay. Now try this one, but go a little slower. Okay, here.
This went so much.
Okay, put your hand in here. We don't want it to get holes in it.
It stretches so much.
We are going to make our pizzas on these cast iron pans. You can use any cast iron pans that you happen to have. If you have a deep dish, you can make a deep dish. Just putting some olive oil on there.
It's very sticky.
It's fine. And then I'm going to put some everything bagel seasoning on the bottom.
Just gonna make that one.
This is so good like this. Makes it so crispy. Are you starting over?
Yeah, it got stuck to my hand.
Okay, now's the fun part. Hey Leah, do you want to come help? Okay, this one is going to be a pesto pizza. And it's pretty simple. Now you just put your toppings on. So, yep. And this one is going to have some pesto and some sauce. So, Leah, we want to put about 15 oregano leaves on each one. I'm going to sprinkle on some thyme. You can do thyme, basil, oregano, sage. We're going to put a little sage on it. This is from our garden. I'm going to rip up the sage. Some garlic. Okay. Now, mozzarella cheese. Sure, you can put it on that one. Spread that all over. And then we're gonna crumble some Parmesan and some Romano. Decorate the pizzas with these cute little tomatoes.
Which one?
Both of them.
I'm gonna do this one. How about you do that one?
Now the next thing we're going to do is turn on the burners. And we need to preheat the oven. Joe, can you preheat the oven at 425? And then we're going to preheat these cast iron pans on medium to high heat for about 5 minutes. And while we're doing that, we're just going to clean up our mess a little bit. Well, then after that, we're gonna put it in the oven. Beautiful. So we had this in the oven for about 12 minutes. You just check to see how the cheese looks, and that's how you know whether or not it's done. Yep. If the crust is browned and the cheese is perfectly brown, then it's ready. So this is how we make sourdough pizza from our sourdough starter.